Hello, my dears, and welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars, the corner where we read between the lines of celebrity hearts and listen to the beats they don't always play out loud. Settle in, breathe out the noise of your day, and let me take you into a story that so many of you have asked me to revisit, a story that has rippled through timelines, comment sections, and late-night conversations among fans who felt a certain spark that never quite went out. Today we are stepping into the light with none other than the couple who once turned glances into headlines and headlines into a romance that felt like a film. We're talking about Cenk Torun and Mahassine Marabet, and yes, we are finally unpacking the words that have everyone buzzing, the moment when Cenk himself addressed the cheating rumors and said his piece, calmly but firmly, in that gentlemanly way he has always carried in front of the camera and behind it. You felt their pull back when the cameras first caught them side by side, her grace, his quiet magnetism, an unlikely duo who moved with the confidence of two seasoned performers yet smiled with the shyness of people surprised by their own chemistry. Whether it was a shared stage at an award night, a joint campaign that brought Turkish classic charm and North African elegance into the same frame, or that cameo that made fan edits multiply overnight, they became the couple you whispered about before you even knew for sure what was happening. And when what was happening finally stepped out of speculation and into confirmation, it felt like the internet took one collective breath. There they were. Cenk, the velvet-voiced leading man who carries nostalgia like a tailored suit, and Mahassine, luminous and poised, a modern star whose gaze can soften a crowd. Together, they look like a yes that life seldom grants without a price. Their supporters didn't miss a beat. Photos, short clips, that moment at the festival where their hands almost touched and then did. Think of how many times that little pause became 1,000 rewatches. The two of them learned to exist under that gaze, the beam of it warm and flattering at first, but demanding and unrelenting as it stretched on. That's what the spotlight is, a generosity that forgets about limits. Fans felt the romance as if it belonged to them. They celebrated every glance, every matching outfit, every laugh that wasn't meant to be heard but somehow managed to escape into the wild world of likes and shares. Then, the turn came. It always does. The first days were only whispers, rumors that might have faded if silence had come with answers. But silence arrived with no explanations, and in that echo, theories bloomed, dramatic and persuasive. It became easy to believe that there must have been a villain to make sense of a separation that otherwise had no clean shape. Accusation is a quick garment to slip on when pain doesn't know where to rest. Suddenly, the couple who had taught us to dream were caught in a narrative that took their story and pressed it into a box labeled infidelity. It wasn't fair, but fairness rarely writes the first draft of public opinion. You know Cenk. He is not a man who rushes to spill his heart where it can be misread. He retreats, not out of indifference, but out of respect for himself, for the person he was with, and for the idea that love, even when it ends, deserves gentleness. In that quiet, the noise grew louder, and the script began to write itself without the actors. He worked, she worked, and both moved forward professionally while the internet insisted on turning side glances into evidence. People wanted an easy culprit, something to point at so they could tell themselves they knew how to keep their own love safe. And then, finally, Cenk spoke. Not with theatrical anger. Not with rehearsed indignation. He spoke in the way people do when they've been carrying a truth for longer than they should, and it has started to feel heavier than it needs to be. He addressed the whispers head on and cleared the space between his name and the words so many had tried to attach to it. No, he said. There was no cheating. No betrayal. No secret that would send the story down the road of scandal and easy drama. What happened was human, complicated, shaped by hours that didn't belong to them and commitments that stretched across months and borders. Listen to that again, there was no cheating. Let the sentence be simple, because that is its power. He didn't trade stories for sympathy or hint at blame to make his point land. He spoke of love without packaging it in regret. He said what needed to be said to return their story to the realm of reality and away from the shadow play that rumor loves to perform. He did not erase the romance by admitting to its end. If anything, he protected it, giving it back its dignity by refusing to let it be rewritten as a cautionary tale. If you were there when their gaze first met the glare of the public, you remember what made them captivating. It was the way Cenk seemed to carry time in his posture, unhurried, and the way Mahassine made everything around her seem possible. Together, they were classic and current, a bridge between eras. They took dinners and premieres and turned them into scenes, but the camera never caught the days that came after, the calls that didn't end because meetings began, the schedules that didn't bend because the world had already decided where two people needed to be at 6 a.m. the next day. That is the truth behind many beautiful stories. They don't end because love is weak, but because life is loud. And it was loud for them. Projects called, and the calls weren't always from the same place. One of them might have been boarding as the other was landing. One might have wrapped a long day only to see that the clock left no room for anything that wasn't sleep. This is not a lament. It is a reality that fans don't always get to see, because the red carpet is designed to be mercifully short. When Cenk finally chose to speak, he wasn't seeking a spotlight, he was switching off a rumor mill that had started to grind down what should have been remembered with tenderness. He gave words to the quiet truth: love can be real, and endings can still be kind. Think about what it means to say, there was no cheating, and stop there. No elaboration meant to steer public anger back to a safe harbor. No subtle accusation disguised as an explanation. Only a line drawn around what matters: their story is not a scandal. He stood in that truth, and in doing so, stood for both of them. How many people would do that? How many would resist the pull to defend themselves by putting weight on someone else's shoulders? It takes strength to be gentle. It takes clarity to keep your tone calm when everyone is waiting for the clapback. He chose grace, the way he often has. We should also remember the woman at the center of this with him. Mahassine has long been a study in elegance under pressure. When the spotlight tests your poise, there's only so much you can control: your work, your voice, your silence. She kept her gaze steady, continued to deliver performances that made even the most impatient critic stop and watch, and refused to dignify the rumor with fuel. What Cenk's words have done is close a door that should never have been kicked open in the first place. It gives her the respect back that speculation tried to siphon away. It gives their shared past a room where the windows are open and the air is easy to breathe. What do we, the watchers and the narrators, learn from this? That sometimes the clean story is not the true one. That a breakup might be a line with no villain at either end. That two public lives can fail to fit neatly into a single calendar without either person becoming the antagonist. Media narratives love heat because heat draws a crowd, but if we listen closely to the people who live the moments, sometimes we'll hear that the truth is warmer and less violent. It's made of respect, of the quiet acknowledgement that love isn't always a forever project, but it doesn't have to turn into a battlefield when the credits roll. Fans of Cenk and Mahassine deserve this clarity because they loved the story in good faith. They believed in what they saw, and what they saw wasn't a mirage. It was two artists crossing paths and deciding, for a while, to walk together. Do not let the absence of a fairy tale ending suggest that the pages before it were written without care. The fact that he spoke now hints at something beyond image control. It suggests that the memory matters, that the work they did to be honest with each other deserves to be recognized publicly. It's a reminder that silence can be noble, but sometimes a single sentence is mercy. When he spoke, it was not to reopen the relationship, it was to give everyone else permission to stop reopening the wound. Rumors have a way of selling themselves as righteous. They tap us on the shoulder and say, "Believe me, I'm only here because you deserve the truth." But the truth is not always the loudest thing in the room. Sometimes it's a calm voice saying, "Let the past be what it was, beautiful in its season, complicated in its demands, and complete." No betrayal lurks in the margins. No secret calls for a breadcrumb hunt. The chapter ends without a plot twist, and not every heart knows how to accept that. What comes next? For Cenk, a return to the work he loves with one less shadow to step over. For Mahassine, the same. When you no longer have to defend your history against a rumor, you become lighter. You move differently. You reclaim your space from all the speculation that tried to lease it out. Perhaps they'll share a stage again one day, or perhaps the respect that allows for quiet continuation is the truest ending this story requires. Either way, the narrative they deserve is now back in their hands. And for you, our faithful listeners here at Whispers of Turkish Stars, consider this an invitation to remember why we fell for them in the first place. Not for the possibility of chaos, but for the certainty of their talent, their presence, the way they each carry a frame as if it was built for them. Let us honor the romance for what it was, a bridge over distance, a dance between schedules, a conversation in glances. Let us honor the ending for what it is. An agreement between two grown people who decided to choose peace over spectacle. So tell me, now that the sentence has been placed gently but firmly on the table, there was no cheating, how do you feel? Relieved? Vindicated? Reconnected with the memories that felt tainted by the noise? I imagine many of you will go back to your favorite clips tonight and watch them with a softer heart, free from the need to scan for clues. If you do, watch the way he laughs when he forgets the camera is near. Watch the way she answers with her eyes. That is the story. That is what was real. Everything else is a rumor's attempt to make itself important. We are storytellers here, yes, but we are also guardians of gentleness where we can be. And today, I choose gentleness. I choose to echo the calm with which Cenk spoke and the elegance with which Mahassine has carried herself. May their paths be bright, and may we meet them where the work is, where the talent is, where the art they share continues to outlast what anyone says between posts and premieres. If you have thoughts, my door is wide open. Drop your feelings in the comments, tell me if this clarity brings closure, and let's keep our conversation as warm as the story deserves. This has been Whispers of Turkish Stars, your soft place to land when the headlines get loud. If you felt seen in this story, if you felt a little of the weight lift with that simple, definitive statement, stay with us. There is more to explore, more to celebrate, more truth to find beneath the glitter. Until the next whisper, take care of your heart, and remember, sometimes the most dramatic thing a person can do is tell the truth without raising their voice.